Okay, let's dive into this explainer. So, have you been feeling just kinda off lately? Like you're running on this giant digital treadmill that you just can't step off of, no matter how hard you try? Well, the sources we're exploring today peel back the layers of a massive, hidden infrastructure that's operating quietly in the background of our daily lives, and honestly, they might just explain exactly why we feel this way. We're going to explore what researchers are calling the architecture of engineered dissatisfaction.
Right off the bat, I want you to sit with this tension for just a second. Why are we never satisfied anymore? Seriously, think about it. You consume more entertainment, more convenience, and way more information than any human being in the history of the world. We literally have everything at our fingertips 24/7. But despite this absolute mountain of abundance, that feeling of actual, lasting satisfaction, it just seems harder and harder to hold on to. We get what we want, but the fulfillment fades almost instantly. Why is that?
Well, look at the modern symptoms we're dealing with. We're emotionally exhausted at the end of the day, completely distracted, restless, unfulfilled, and just generally unable to feel satisfied for very long. Now, most of us interpret these things as personal failures. We blame our own lack of discipline, right? We tell ourselves, oh, I just need better time management, or I need a new productivity hack. But the material we're looking at reveals something totally different. Experiencing these specific feelings isn't some accident. It's actually the exact intended outcome of the systems you interact with every single day.
And this brings us to this really fascinating concept, the death of friction. Notice the contrast here between how things used to operate versus how they operate now. Older media had natural physical limitations. Newspapers ended when you got to the back page. Television channels used to literally sign off for the night. Remember the static playing after midnight? Stores actually closed their doors. These limitations forced a pause. They gave you a natural stopping cue. But modern systems, they're built entirely differently. Infinite scroll, autoplay, one-click checkout, they have completely removed all stopping cues. You literally never run out of feet.
Which brings us to an incredibly important number in modern design: 0. That is the exact number of natural completion points or mental recovery moments built into your digital feeds, your food delivery apps, and your automated subscriptions. 0. There's always another video queued up, always another product heavily suggested, another notification popping up to pull you right back in. The system is engineered to have absolutely no boundaries. And it's so crucial to understand that this absence of boundaries is a deliberate choice, not some weird engineering accident. To get why it's built this way, we have to look at how it hijacks our biology.
Specifically, we got to talk about dopamine. Now, what's really interesting here is how the research completely flips the script on how we usually understand this chemical. We typically think dopamine is just pure pleasure, the warm, fuzzy feeling of getting a reward. But behavioral psychology shows us it's not actually about feeling good. Dopamine is heavily tied to motivation, pursuit, and the endless anticipation of a reward. It is the neurochemical of wanting, not having. It's what gets you up to go look for food or, grab your phone just to see who texted you.
And that intense wanting fuels a very specific, repeatable behavioral loop. Think about a scenario we all experience literally every day. Your phone buzzes. That's step 1, anticipate. You wonder who it is, what the news is. So you pick it up for step 2, consume. Maybe it's a 15-second video. Instantly, you enter step 3, compare. You subconsciously compare your life, your looks, or your success to whatever you just saw. And then, to soothe that tiny little feeling of inadequacy, step 4, refresh. You pull the screen down, watch the little loading wheel spin, and start the whole shebang over again. These platforms use notifications and short-form content to continuously trigger this exact loop, locking you into a state of endless seeking without ever reaching lasting satisfaction. And because you're constantly stuck in that loop, this hidden conditioning is taking place in your mind. Without us even noticing, these frictionless systems fill every single quiet moment with stimulation. Waiting in line for coffee? Pull out the phone. Bored for 2 seconds in an elevator? Open an app. We are actively being conditioned for a significantly lower tolerance to boredom, waiting, silence, discomfort, and delayed gratification. And this inability to just sit in silence is fundamentally changing our emotional resilience. When we constantly escape into a feed to avoid even mild discomfort, we lose the mental downtime we actually need to process our emotions. The result? Fragmented attention and just a deep, deep emotional fatigue.
Now, it's really easy to assume there's some grand evil conspiracy behind this, like a bunch of villains in a boardroom plotting to drain our attention. But the truth is actually way more systemic. These industries aren't necessarily coordinating together. However, they all independently optimize for the exact same metrics: engagement, retention, and repeated consumption. Streaming platforms use endless autoplay for sustained attention. Social media uses infinite scrolling to create prolonged desire. Shopping apps use instant, frictionless actions like buy now buttons to drive immediate purchasing. They're all just independently competing for your behavior using the exact same behavioral science playbook.
And that brings us to a really powerful insight from the research. Quote, the easier access becomes, the more behavior becomes automatic. This is the dark genius of engineered convenience. By removing all hesitation and effort, whether that's saving your credit card info or starting the next episode before the credits even finish rolling, your consumption moves entirely into the subconscious. You don't actively choose to keep going, you just automatically do. Why? Because stopping actually requires more conscious mental effort than continuing.
So we really have to ask, why is endless consumption the ultimate goal here? Well, because a fully satisfied consumer disengages. Think about that for a second. If you are totally fulfilled, what do? You put the phone down. You turn off the TV. You stop buying things. The modern economy only profits when your attention remains active. The whole system works most effectively when you are unsatisfied, when you keep searching, scrolling, upgrading, and just wanting more. Pure, lasting satisfaction is quite literally bad for modern business models.
And this leads directly into how modern consumer culture is monetized today. It's not just about selling a basic product anymore. It's about monetizing specific psychological states. Just look at the massive role that anticipation and comparison play here. Social media drastically intensifies this by constantly bombarding you with curated lifestyles and extreme luxury. Then add in aspiration, selling you the idea of who you could be if you just bought this course or this outfit. And finally, novelty, the constant churn of new trends, making sure whatever you have right now is already out of style. This entire ecosystem creates persistent feelings of emotional insufficiency. You're always comparing, always aspiring, always seeking the next thing.
Which leads to a pretty profound realization about the world we live in. Historically, we're conditioned to think that our dissatisfaction comes from scarcity, from simply not having enough resources or enough connection. But the deeper truth exposed in this explainer is the exact opposite. Our modern dissatisfaction is created by endless, frictionless access without any meaningful completion. You can never finish the internet. You can never reach the bottom of your social feeds. There is always more, but there is never a sense of being done. The finish line has literally been permanently erased.
So, I want to leave you with a final, maybe slightly unsettling thought to chew on. Are you actually undisciplined, or are you just functioning exactly as the system designed? As you evaluate your own exhaustion and fragmented attention moving forward, you really have to realize that your lack of fulfillment might not be a personal failure at all. It might just be the quiet success of an invisible infrastructure perfectly engineered to keep you perpetually wanting. So the next time you catch yourself in that endless pull-to-refresh motion, ask yourself, who is really in control of this moment? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the systems operating around you.